Entrepreneurs Over 40, episode 32, featuring Connie talking about being an inventor.
When we were children, we were curious about things around us. When does this change? Why does it have to change? I'm proud to be a trailblazer among women inventors and never lose my sense of curiosity.
You're listening to Entrepreneurs Over 40, the show for somewhat mature entrepreneurs and side hustlers. And now your host, Greg Mills.
Our guest today retired from teaching technical writing at the University of Maryland and Johns Hopkins University for almost 4 decades. Today she's thriving in her second act as an inventor, a grandmapreneur, an author, speaker, and a caregiver to 2 young grandchildren. She is living proof that the second act entrepreneur can succeed if only they focus on what matters most to them. She has found that entrepreneurship is a mindset at any age. Without further ado, Connie.
Thank you so much, Greg. It's so nice to be on your show.
Well, it's great to have you here. So, can you take a few moments and fill in the gaps from that intro and bring us up to speed with what's going on in your world today?
Sure. So I actually retired from being a teacher for 40 plus years. And who would have known? I would have never thought that this would be my life now. So I retired at age 68. I started becoming an inventor. And I knew nothing about inventing, zero. So I had to learn. And I think that one of the great things about growing older is that if you keep learning, you stay younger. Actually, next week, I'm going to be 74 years old.
Oh, wow.
Okay? Yep. So
I would not believe it.
Thank you. I certainly qualify for your show of over 40. So 2 things keep me young. One is I'm always learning. And the second one is I have my 2 young grandchildren who I watch, and I think they keep me very young.
You mentioned that you retired from teaching technical writing for almost 4 decades.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea at all where life was going to take you? What did you have planned?
I had no idea. All I knew is I wanted to retire because anyone who went to college knows that you pull all-nighters to get your reports done and to study for exams. Well, they do it for 4 years. I did it for 40. I used to pull all-nighters to grade reports because I taught engineers and computer scientists how to write reports. So I used to stay up all night doing it. And I was so glad to retire, but now I stay up all night doing businesses. But it's much more fun for me.
Okay, I guess I didn't think that through, but yeah, you really couldn't skimp on the technical writing grading aspect.
Yeah, you have to give them a grade and you have to make comments on why they got their grade. It got a little bit hard for me because students in college nowadays are expecting everything. They expect that if they go to class and if they do their work, why don't they get an A? And I was a pretty easy grader, but I reserve the A's for those people who deserve it. Mm-hmm. You know, and a lot of people felt that they needed an A just because they did the work.
I definitely did not expect an A when I was in college.
Students are different now. It was very hard because I want to give everyone an A, but then I would be fired. Mm-hmm. If I give everybody an A, I would be fired, because those are good schools I taught at. And they have a lot of credibility, and an A means an A. When I went to school, I worked really hard for my grades. But students nowadays they feel entitled.
Yeah, I think we're seeing that in all aspects of society.
Right. So I was really glad to retire. One of the things that I did is I got my idea for my invention while I was still working. And because I taught technical writing and I taught engineers how to write reports, one of their assignments was to write an instruction manual. So while I was doing it, I wrote an instruction manual for my invention. I was working right alongside of them, but I loved it. Then I gave them another assignment where they had to do a product description. So I did that right alongside of them. And every assignment that I gave them, I used to do similar assignments before I became an inventor, but I used that time while they were working on it. I was working right alongside them. They didn't know, but I was doing that. In the end, they had to do a PowerPoint presentation. So I made a PowerPoint presentation for my product. So it was very helpful. Then I realized I needed to focus on my own self. So I retired.
Okay. And are we talking about the tip and split?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
my first invention.
Okay. I'm pretty good with actually figuring out the tip amounts, but actually being able to see the small print. And I saw where you've got not only a magnifying glass built in, but a light as well.
Yeah, that's really why I invented it. I added the tips and the splits afterwards just to make it more fun, but this is actually my invention. So this is my tip and split, and it has the magnifier here so you can read the small print on the menu and on the bill. And then it has a little light on the back, more discreet than the light on your smartphone, so you can actually read. Because I used to have a hard time when I would go to the restaurant and go look for a candle because I couldn't see in the dark restaurant. So I said, why doesn't somebody have something that can help us? So I invented this, and then I added the tip and split just to make it more fun, because the magnifier and the light are the main parts of it. This is handheld, and then you can also figure out a tip and split the bill in 3 seconds. It's all in one. I had no idea how to do it. Zero idea how to do it. But I was lucky enough to have been married to an engineer who was brilliant, and he figured out all of the algorithms to make it simple to use. I'm not married to him now, but he still helped me with.
Good man.
Yeah. I give him all that credit. So I invented it. I had to learn all about not only inventing, but I learned about manufacturing. That was my biggest problem, because where do you go? So I actually found a manufacturer at a trade show, and they messed it up terribly. And they couldn't do it. So then I found another one, and I said, can you figure out how to do this? And he says, oh, this is engineering 101. They messed it up too. It took me years before I could get a good manufacturer. And each time I was so disappointed. And finally, I got it right.
Now, how did you find the successful manufacturer?
From a recommendation from another inventor. I'm in inventor groups. We share a lot, and it's actually wonderful to be a part of an inventor group, because we're all sharing the same obstacles and figuring out how to come up with a solution.
Instead of the 12 steps, you've got what, the 7?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a little bit difficult for me, because when I first invented my product, I went to a trade show for inventors. And my manufacturer had messed up, and I didn't even have a product to show, but I had a table. So I just had pictures at the table. That's not really so good. And also they had a pitch contest. They had QVC at the trade show to pitch your product to be on QVC. I signed up to do it, but I didn't have a product. So I just talked about it and showed them pictures. And they actually loved the idea. But they said, please come back when you have a product. The next year I went back. I pitched to the same team. And I said, do you remember me? And they said, yes. And I said, well, I remember you too. And you said, come back when I have a product. So here's my product. And then I got on QVC.
Okay. Now, talking about QVC, and this ties in with your manufacturing, how much product did you have to have in reserve for QVC?
I think I needed 3,000 units.
Wow. That can tie up a lot of money.
Yeah. It's very expensive to be an inventor. Very expensive. I have 8,000 products now. I actually got on the TV show The View. So my product got on The View, and they told me I needed 10,000 units and 10,000 in reserve.
Oh, wow.
So I ordered 10,000 units, and I actually sold about 6,800 in 1 minute.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was really fantastic. But I ordered 10,000 more. A lot of people watch the shows, and they don't have products for people my age.
Right.
I think that I'm one of the few inventors that invents products for people who get older. Most products are for young people, like apps or tech things. I'm sure a lot of people see a product and just like you said, boy, I can't see that small print.
Yeah.
There are a lot of us like that out there.
If I go to a restaurant and I don't have my glasses and the light's dim, I'm functionally illiterate.
Exactly. That's how I am. And that's what inventors do. They see a problem and they come up with a solution. And so I was so excited to come up with a solution because I'm the only product like it out there. So I had 10,000 units in my garage, and then COVID hit. And I stopped promoting Tip and Split because this is for restaurants.
Right.
And first of all, most of the restaurants were closed. And second of all, I didn't want to encourage older people to go out to restaurants because I'm an older person. I just don't want to expose people to say, go try this in a restaurant. So I started something else. But now I'm coming back to Tip and Split again.
When you were coming up with the idea for the Tip and Split, how did you validate it to make sure both that it was viable as well as to make sure it wasn't already out there and that there was an actual consumer demand for it?
Well, first of all, when you have an invention, the one thing you have to do is make sure there is nothing that's like it.
Right.
Unless you make an improvement on something. But there was nothing like it. I did a lot of research on it, and I found zero like it. And so I thought, that's great. And how did I find that it was something that somebody would want? Well, I went on QVC. People bought it. I went on The View, people bought it. I went on the Today Show, people bought it.
Oh, I don't question that. I'm asking before you had...
You have to do a Google search and find out everything on the market for it. I also had a patent attorney, and he also did a search and couldn't find anything like it.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that obviously I can see the value in it. You can see the value in it, and apparently a lot of other people have seen the value in it. But, sometimes your friends and family will, they'll lie to us.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
You have to do a search. And luckily, the patent office has search options. So you can search everything. You can also Google.
Right.
Like I would do tip calculator. But nobody had a magnifier and a light with it. Yeah, but they also do have lighted magnifiers. But they don't have the tip calculator on it.
Yeah, that was a great marriage of the two.
Yes. Okay. So you have to do a lot of searching because when you apply for a patent, that's also expensive. You have to make sure that you're not infringing on someone else's patent.
Okay. Now, how did you go about creating a prototype?
Well, I used my former husband for that, and we came up with drawings, mostly him. He came up with drawings, and then we sent them to the manufacturer to do it.
Okay.
And they thought it was easy, but they couldn't get it right. So many times I was disappointed.
It does sound like it would be easy to manufacture, but then again, I've never manufactured anything.
Well, not only is it difficult to manufacture, but I wanted to manufacture it in the United States, but all the electronics are in China. They're all overseas. There are no manufacturers in the United States for electronic equipment that I could find.
So you ultimately ended up having to go overseas for some or all of it? Yes.
Then you get the language barrier and the differences. And I used to actually have my ex-husband talk to them sometimes because they don't like to talk to a woman.
I've heard that as well, actually.
Yeah. But I did get it done, and I'm still so excited with it. I'm still going strong. During COVID, I put it on hold. I've put my product on hold many times because of manufacturing defects and then because of COVID. But now I'm about ready to go into it again. Okay.
Now, did you ever try to license the idea for the Tip and Split?
I met Stephen Key. Have you heard of him?
Oh, yeah. Actually, he was gracious enough to be one of my first guests.
He's wonderful. I actually have his book, One Simple Idea. I love his book. I love him. And I actually met him at an inventors group that I belong to in the Washington, D.C. area. He was a speaker there, and I so wanted to work with him, but I felt I was too far along to start licensing it. But actually, it's still in my mind to license the product.
Yeah, I think his books are great, and I think they provide all the steps. It's just for somebody that wants that extra reassurance, I think.
If somebody would actually do it for me, I would do it, but they don't do it for you. They just tell you what to do. So I do have his book, but anyone who's just starting out should get his book and go through the steps and join it. If I had it to do over again, I would have joined his group. But I met him, I think, right when I was about to be on QVC. Okay. I still feel like licensing is the best way to go.
Okay. Now, has the tip and split been knocked off?
No.
That's surprising.
I know. I'm very surprised. Because I don't do much advertising, so I don't think that people know about it. Maybe they'll see it on your show and start knocking it off.
Well, I hope that they do see it on the show. I just hope they don't start knocking it off.
Right. People knock off other things.
Yeah. Our audience is higher and more elevated than that.
Thank you. For another thing that I did this year, I trademarked my name as Grandmapreneur. Okay? Because of my age, and I'm a grandma, and I'm a grandmapreneur. And everybody loves that name. And now I see Grandmapreneur all over the place. I looked it up and I see about 15 people calling themselves Grandmapreneur. And I talked to somebody about that because I have the trademark. Mm-hmm. And they said I can send like a cease and desist letter to them to stop using it or get them to pay me. But I haven't done anything because I really can't see going after grandmas.
Right.
Although I paid for the trademark and I paid for the domain name.
Yeah. I think what I would do if I were you is I'd let as many people that wanted to call themselves a grandmapreneur be a grandmapreneur. But the second they wanted to put it on a coffee mug or a T-shirt, that's when I would enforce your trademark.
How am I supposed to keep track of that? I don't know.
Well, that's true. I think I would do a search on Amazon, first to see what just popped up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that's good advice. And if they're going to use it on products, then I think I have to go after them. Mm-hmm. Because I'm an inventor, I know the value of trademarks.
Yeah. I
trademarked Tip and Split. Mm-hmm. And then I trademarked my new product called Write Your Selfie. It's also for older people. You realize that once you're gone, nobody's going to know about you or their ancestry. Mm-hmm. So I wrote, during COVID, I decided to write my life story so that I could pass it down so my grandchildren will know all about me and their children will know about me after I'm gone. And because I'm a former writing teacher, I made it into a course because I was a teacher. So the course is on how they can write their own book, their own life story.
Now, backing up just a little bit, you've got another book, How I Got My Product on QVC, The Today Show, and The View, and More in Retirement, which chronicled your journey as well as had 8 buzz tips dealing with marketing. I forget which one it was, but Be Charitable really struck me as one that not a lot of people would include. Could you talk about that a little bit?
I think people like it when you're giving back something. That's not why I did it. When I first made my Tip and Split, I realized that everybody donates for cancer and now Parkinson's disease because they're always in the news. I found Macular Degeneration Foundation. They don't have as much money there to do research. So what I did is when I invented my product, I used to send them Tip and Splits. They did their first blog post about my product, Tip and Split. And what they did is anybody who would make a comment on their blog would receive a Tip and Split. So I was so happy to do that because this is not for people who have serious macular degeneration, but people who are at the beginning stages.
Right.
I don't have it, but I thought they might need a spokesperson or somebody to give light on it. So when I become famous, I will talk about macular degeneration.
Okay.
Because I think that my product is for people with vision problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that people really identify with a product that helps others and that is giving back in some way.
Right. And at this stage of my life, I'm not really doing it so much for money. I'm doing it to help people with both of my products.
Mm-hmm.
The tip and split, I'm trying to help people because I know how I used to dread going into restaurants that were dark. I hated it. I couldn't see anything. So I thought, instead of just struggling, why not make it fun? So my product is actually fun because when I whip it out, everybody looks at it. What's that? Oh my goodness. So this is kind of making you the center of attention when you have your tip and split.
Yeah, it's a cool little tool.
Yeah, well, I like it. So I wrote a book with the reason I wrote my book, I'll tell you, is because when I first became an inventor, I realized that you need to get out there and have some visibility and publicity. So I hired a publicist to promote me. She got me nothing.
Right.
She charged me a lot and got me nothing. So then I hired somebody else that I had heard of. She got me nothing. And a lot of times when you're an inventor, you go for things because we want to be known, and people take advantage of us because we all believe in our product. So I got my own publicity. I got my own self on QVC, The Today Show, The View, and more.
Yeah.
I got my own. So I decided, why don't I write a book about what I did so that other people don't have to go spend that money for a publicist and can do it themselves.
Well, thank you for doing that. A lot of inventors, too, I think they're focused on inventing and they understand how their product works and how to bring it about, but they don't understand how to sell it.
Yeah. I didn't know any of that. But I still am trying my best to get known. And you're one of the people who's going to help me because being on a podcast is making me visible.
Oh, yeah.
So that's wonderful.
You say you're not a podcaster, but on your Grandmapreneur site, you do have a session where you've talked with other coaches.
Oh, yeah.
And kind of interviewed those.
I got this idea because I'm an inventor. I have 2 businesses, and I felt it was time to hire a business coach. Before I decided to hire one, I interviewed 17 business coaches to find out what they do, how they are different, and how they can help me. And I posted those on LinkedIn and on Facebook and on Instagram so that other people who are new entrepreneurs like me can decide if they need a business coach and what kind of business coach they need. I wrote an article for Entrepreneur Magazine that was published in June, and it was called, Do I Need a Business Coach? One day I will do a podcast, one day, but it's a lot of work, isn't it?
It is. I got inspired by John Lee Dumas on Entrepreneurs on Fire. He releases one every day, and then there's bonus episodes, and I thought, I could do that. And I'm struggling to get out one a week. Of course, I'm still working as well, but yeah, it's a lot of work.
I know, because when I did that, I actually hired somebody to edit them for me because that's a big job. So I actually paid for each of those episodes.
It racks up, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah. But I love doing it. It was my first time interviewing people, and I love doing it. And I thought about doing a podcast, but I have a few ideas. I'm not going to interview inventors because Robert Baer does it. Do you know Robert Baer?
Yes, I've talked with him and Alan Beckley. They're both really great guys and both have really
they're
great
wonderful.
shows. Yeah.
They're both wonderful. I was on both of their shows, so I wouldn't interview inventors because they have it going.
Yeah.
I have a few other ideas for a podcast. The problem is the time, because I'll tell you, my priority is my grandchildren.
Priorities right then.
Exactly. They need me. I love them, and that's my priority now. So anything that I can do that doesn't cut them out would be great.
I apologize. I kind of pushed you away from talking about Write Your Selfie. I just wanted to, follow up on a couple other things, but let's talk, some more about that.
So this is my new project. I wrote my life story because I found out a lot of things about my past that nobody will know after I'm gone. One of the incredible things I found out was that, and I didn't know this, my mother died about 15 years ago, and her parents immigrated to the United States from Poland.